Hi, Capricorn. My name is Kristen Simone Hansen, and welcome to Sea Goat Secrets. So, Capricorn, you are a very deep sign. You are emotionally intense. You have a lot of layers that you often run from. And this last moon transit made them very prominent, present, and they came to the surface. And many of you did the work and you survived it, which is great. And now, as you're entering a point in your life that is more lighthearted and more, I would say, emotionally lucrative, I wanted to touch on your emotional depth and the layers of who you are when it comes to said emotions. So, our bodies are vehicles of information. That is everyone who is alive, a human being. Chemistry is what guides us and navigates us, and our emotions are ultimately chemical reactions happening inside of us. So, for example, if you're listening to certain types of music, you are altering your body's chemistry. And if you want to feel more relaxed and more at ease, that's why when you listen to certain maybe binaural beats, you can put your mind at ease. And ultimately, it's because you're creating a reaction within yourself that releases you from feelings of chaos. You, Capricorn, being an earth sign, an earth sign of both earth and water, you really and truly are a vehicle of information in that you tend to hoard a lot. Like the other earth signs, you can stack something inside of yourself and keep it there. And you have to go within yourself and often pull out things. So, much like when you're looking at our earth and you go and you dig your hands into the ground and you find memories. You can find, I remember when I was a kid, in my backyard at my parents' house. So I guess a little brief on that. I am culturally, I have a pretty global background. I'm from a small island, but then also the United States in a small town. So my childhood memories are kind of split between that prominence in terms of being this like island girl, but then also being this kind of small town girl in a way. So in my house in the United States, I remember having my dad put this playground in our backyard. And I was so happy. It had sand and everything like that. My father was very sweet. And he's just a very loving and handy person. And I remember I took a toilet paper roll. I think it was a paper towel roll. It was one of them. And I ended up taking it and I put a bunch of stuff in it and then I sealed the ends and I dug up a hole in the sand in the backyard and I placed it in there. And the point was to kind of hold on to my memories, drawings I did that year. I've always been an artist. And so as a kid, I always created a lot of drawings and small paintings, whatever. And so I was holding on to different drawings I did that year. And then I placed it in that roll and I dug a hole in the sand and I put it in there. And I did that so that I could retrieve it later. And this is kind of what I mean about how things can get stuck in your soil, Capricorn. Like that role, you being an earth sign, things that you go through or traumas that you experience, memories that you have, you can hold on to them and get them stuck in your soil. And you have to go in and go through a process to kind of like dig it out and pull it out and look at it and understand what it is. And then you can discard it. You out of versus like a sign of another element, things don't always get stuck in them the same way. It's not to say that traumas don't affect them, if they just affect them differently. The good thing about being a Capricorn is you are less likely to have your wars show up on you, which is why a lot of the time when you see a Capricorn, um, you can see someone who looks like they've been through something, but they kind of have this togetherness about them, or this clearness about them, um, and that's why, because like there are things buried in the soil, but on the surface you can clean the bed of the sand, right? um, Versus some other people, you have other elements, like air, for example, can go through so many things, but because of their element, it's kind of like it's bouncing off of them. And it's not to say that it doesn't affect them. It usually just affects them as in it shows up like in their mental, the way that they navigate or the way that they communicate, or the way that they act. Um, Versus with water and earth, the feminine signs, you can see it more in a physical way. And it tends to show up more naturally or more organically. Um, so, anyway, the thing about you is if you dive into your water, which is your emotional and spiritual space, water has the power to move all earth. The wind, no matter how the wind howls, the mountain cannot bow, but the ocean can push the mountain. An ocean can drown a mountain completely out, can in many different ways. Either um, it can cut right through it just on pressure alone. Stand up next to a mountain and chop it down with the edge of your hand, right? Water can do that to a mountain. It also can just brush it out, flush it out over time, break it down. So nonetheless, if you're have this bed of soil that has not been moved, and you take a bunch of water and you place it underneath the soil, eventually everything underneath it will become unearthed. It will come to the surface to be seen. That's like what happens with you when you embrace your emotional self. Although it might seem difficult, this water, you watering yourself, is the answer to you not only no longer having dry soil, no longer feeling rigid and stiff and, kind of, I don't know, robotic, right? Uh, Capricorns can do that when they feel like they've just gone through so much that they kind of are at like a point where they're just like, I can't move. They feel like if I take one move, I'm going to crack, or I'm going to break, or I'm going to unleash, right? So that can happen. To become really stiff, you can become really dry, and it's because you're trying to control yourself. You're trying to control your emotions. You're trying to be okay, I guess. It's like if I can stiffen and control, um, then I won't break. And really, it's your nervous system is being hit with so many things at one time. That's why a lot of Capricorns can have a lot of anxiety, um, because of the ways in which your experiences can just trigger your nervous system, and you stiffen in order to respond. That's your way, kind of like a freeze, right? And so it's just really attacking you more and more and kind of eating away at you, versus if you just released, if you just let the emotions run through you. If you're angry, be angry, right? Let it out. You don't have to go and hit someone, but if anger goes in, let a scream come out. If pain goes in, let tears come out. What is above, so below. What is within, so without. And that is the flow that keeps you going. When you embrace yourself as your sea goat, when you embrace this other side of who you are, that constant flow stays with you. And yeah, you're not going to be this, it's not about stiffness. It's not about this rigidity. It's something so much more fluid, so much, something that has so much more flow. And a lot of the fear is that you have this idea that if you surrender to that, then you're going to lose all control of your life or your image or your identity. I have met so many Capricorns that never wanted to even discuss some of their experiences or their traumas or their difficulties in their life because they felt like it would define them in a negative light. Versus, a lot of water signs, for example, they like to wear their trauma as badges. Fire signs, too. Fire signs are big with wearing their traumas as baggage, or not baggage, as badges. I've rarely met a fire sign who didn't like to say, yeah, I went through this and, that, and my old man used to, knock me around or something like that. And they wear it as a badge of honor for who it is that they are now or where it is that they've gotten themselves. Whereas you, Capricorn, you tend to really want to hide it and keep it to yourself because you don't want to be defined by it. You don't want to be defined by that muckiness. And a lot of the time for you, your water is muddy. It's mucky. And it's not like some safe little easy place to be like it is for like Pisces, for example. It can be, but it's just something you have to learn to control yourself. Within you is someone that is so sensitive and so sweet and is fragile. And that fragility is hidden behind a strong face. Literally, you, you have a goat head, right? They're sitting here with these horns and this intense face and this strong body that you have. And inside of you is so much emotion and so much sensitivity and so much fragility. It almost feels a bit unfair that sometimes you look stronger than you feel, right? But it's okay. You were designed perfectly for who you are. And when you merge the two together, that is when you awaken your true power. Your emotional depth is your power. Your vulnerability is your power. Your ability to convert your emotions into creation is exceptionally powerful. You definitely see this when you're dealing with Capricorn moon placements, because Capricorn moons, because of that repression and suppression, they can only really express themselves through doing things, through creating things. So if you look at a lot of celebrities, for example, or musicians, playing the piano is something that tends to be a really Capricorn moony thing, right? It's like your hands have this compulsion to create and to move in this way. Being an artist as well, working with your hands, creating things with your hands. I just think about Johnny Depp, for example, who is a Capricorn moon. And like a lot of Capricorn moons, he wants to be disconnected from his expressions because they feel like there's so much that he just kind of wants to shut them out, right? He also has the Gemini sun, so that alter ego thing makes it even easier to shut it out. But him being a Capricorn moon, he expresses himself through his work. And you, again, when you look at who he is and how he navigates on his own, you see someone that is quite stiff, quite kind of rigid, right? Very sensitive, but very like pulled in and kind of subdued. That is classic of a Capricorn moon, where it's like in his work, he's expressive, he's vibrant, he's bold, he's giving all of his emotional depth to that moment. But if it's not in that moment, he can really kind of be pulled in and repressed. Another Capricorn moon would be like Billie Holiday. She's another great example. In terms of being able to convert her pain into a song. So that's a very common experience, I think. I'm not sure, but I think Amy Winehouse was also a Capricorn moon. But nonetheless, yeah. So the ability to convert pain into progress, the ability to use peace to equal progress or process is your one of your greatest skills. So the combination of the two, where your sensitivity lives kind of beneath you and your strength lives on the outside of you, that is your power space, because you can take this space of fragility and vulnerability and that deep, dark water, and you can convert it into something that the world can comprehend and understand, which is what you like to do, right? Your status, the way you show up in the world, the way you navigate the world is very important to you. You seek to be someone in the world. You want to influence people. You can influence them with your testimony. You don't always have to dry yourself up and pretend to kind of be this like robot of perfection and try to be what you think people want you to be who you are. And through your testimony, right, through the depth of who you are, diving into the emotions and the crevices of your own soul, that is where your song comes into fruition. And it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to witness when a Capricorn creates. In Capricorn, when you embrace your emotional depth and you can convert it into what you do for your career, your work, because really your career is important to you because your purpose is important to you. In the modern era, we tend to misconstrue Capricorn energy and 10th house energy as just being money and career. It's because it's the way it's converted in our modern world. Outside of modernism, if you're thinking prior to briefcases and suits and ties, Capricorn represents the way we show up in our world, the viewpoint of the way we operate within our community and our society. So your purpose is what drives you, not your career. Your career is an extension of your purpose. Capricorn is all about purpose. So when you remember that and you dive deep into that, that is Capricorn in its highest elevation. It's when you're unafraid of being the authority. It's when you're unafraid of being the person in the room who's packing a big punch. It's when you're unafraid of your depth in your experiences and your darkness and your intensity, and you just give it to the world. You say, this is what it is, packaged, and you throw it. That is when you reach your highest elevation. That's when you can push beyond your insecurities, your fears, your nervousness, your awkwardness, and you can truly align with who it is that you are. And yes, you are quite intimidating. There is nothing more intimidating than a Capricorn is embracing their emotional depth. Even just when you're talking about seagoat seductresses like Ava Gardner or who's another one? Sade Adu. You think about these seductive women that are just moving through the world with this intensity and this authority and this mystery. That is Capricorn energy in its highest elevation. They have combined the mysticism of the sea goat and the intensity of the mountain, and they are unapologetic in that power, and they give it to you straight, no chaser. That's you. And the route to the person that you want to be, the route to all it is, or the answer to all of your questions lies within you. It's not in someone else. It's not in an institution or a place or a job that accepts you or a partner that can embrace you. It's in you. It's lonely at the top of that mountain, and it's meant to be because your position is specific for you. And it's not about anything outside of you. It's about you. Use yourself inside and push it out. And your experiences and your depth and your trauma and the scary sides of yourself that you're afraid to face, that's where you find your answers. That's where you find your power. That's where you can work smarter, more creatively, and not harder. That's when the birth of your path comes with ease and grace instead of it coming with constant opposition and constant pushbacks, and the universe is constantly trying to redirect you to who it is that you're meant to be instead of who it is that you'll allow yourself to settle for as you dive into this dry, stiff person who's just trying to be accepted by everyone, because deep down you are a very unique and unorthodox person. And your ego energy is not Aqua. Aqua has an ego of uniqueness. So Aqua strives to be that way. You, on the other side of Saturn, are just naturally that way. And there's something about you that is always different, that is always awkward, that's always kind of uncomfortable from the way you look, from the way you navigate. The problem is you see it as an insecurity instead of seeing it as a strength. You see it as a weakness instead of seeing it as a strength, because you aspire to be like a lot like what I like to call as a fire sign, where you aspire to be really accepted by the general public. You really aspire to get commercial acclaim when it's not for you. What's meant for you is something so much more specific, so much more individual. Your sensitivity has to get over your fears of aloneness, your fears of isolation, your fears of feeling bullied, or like you're too different to be accepted or be enough. Respect is better than likability. And that is the deep secret underneath why you're always kind of trying to, follow the rules and fit in. It's like release yourself, right? Bring up the water, release yourself, let it go. I'm trying to think of what else I have for you, Capricorn. Your passion, really, because that's what it is. When I say your power comes from your passion, it doesn't come from you being able to pick something up and put it down. It comes from that thing that in your belly that pushes through you, that moves through you, and it's screaming at you. It's out in the world. It is the things you have experienced. It's the struggles. It's the difficulties. It's the hell that Capricorn has to experience as the fallen angel. All of those things in tandem or in combination create what it is that's going to make you the great person that you want to be. It's a destiny of greatness when you have the ruler that is the sea goat, and you unlock it when you unlock your authenticity. I think that's it. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is your wisdom. So one good thing that you love to do is to control your emotions. You intellectualize them and add logic to them, and they're able to be converted into wisdom, which is great. But that's another example of channeled emotion. Capricorn, you are wonderful because you learn how to control your emotions. And it's not about, and you know what? I take away the word control, and I've done this multiple times. It's not about control, it's about governance. You know how to direct and govern because you're earth and water. The thing about water is water always needs earth in order to move itself in a certain path. If you've ever seen the memoirs of a geisha, why is it that Sayuri needed Mamea in order to reach her highest elevation? Well, because Sayuri was this unhinged water sign or water energy that didn't know which direction to take herself. But Mamea came in with this strong earth energy and was able to direct where the river would flow. You, Capricorn, you can do that for yourself. You can direct where your river flows for you on your own. You have it in you to balance and complete yourself. So yeah, I think that's it for this video about your emotional depth. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make another one, but I love you. Thank you for being here. Ciao.